So good day. We're learning this Maimer Minu Melech of the Tzemach Tzedek in Sefer HaMitzvahs, in Time HaMitzvahs, Derech Mitzvosecha. We're on page 218, 15 lines from the bottom. If you count up 15 lines, we are the fifth word into the line, Yaakov Yosef Dovid Chof Ches Shana. The line begins with the words lekabel toisvus chasodim. So we're in the middle of studying here the explanation why Avraham, Yaakov, and Yosef gave years from their life to Dovid HaMelech. The last thing we explained is that the Zohar skips Yitzchak. Why didn't Yitzchak give any life to Dovid? And the Tzemach Tzedek explained because Yitzchak is Gvura's judgment. And Malchus, Dovid HaMelech is Malchus. Malchus doesn't need more judgment. Malchus needs kingship, royalty, needs more sweetness, more chesed, more kindness. This is what we learned in the last year. It's very, very important. Now he goes to the second of the patriarchs that gave years to David, which is Yaakov, and he explains that. Yaakov nosan leDavid chof ches shana, and Yaakov gave King David 28 years of his life. That he would have lived another 28 years, he gave him away completely to King David. The question is why, and he explains. This is based on the idea that's written by Moshe after the sin with the golden calf. And now Hashem's power of rulership, of Adnai, which means rulership, will become great. That's a verse in the Torah. And the Tzemach Tzedek explains, Shehu hamilui umilui de milui sheshem Adnai. A little lesson in Kabbalah now. When you have, let's say, the letter Aleph, Aleph is one letter, but if you write out Aleph, it's three letters. Aleph, Lamed, Langafei, face of feet, the long pay. Aleph. So it becomes three letters. If you then continue with Dalid, we're taking now the name of God, Adnai. Dalid is Dalid, Yud, Tov, Dalid, or Dalid, Yud, Dalid, yeah. Each letter has what's called a filling, an inside. So if you count all the letters, that's called milui. Then there is something called milui de milui, the filling within the filling. What is that? Chaim Zev. Aleph, I said, is Aleph Lamed Pei. Now within Aleph Lamed Pei, there's another Aleph Lamed Pei. So it has again another three letters for the Aleph. So from the one Aleph that you write, you get how many? 9 letters. 6 letters. And if you do that for Dalit and Nun and Yud, Milui de Milui, you get a total of 28. Now, so it doesn't come out to 28, so it's been already discussed, but generally it's 28. Let's go back to the text. So he says, which equals 28 letters. So that now, Chaim Zev, what does it say? Va'ata, and now Yigdal no, right after the chait of the golden calf. Yigdal no koach Adnai. That's why it says the koach, which is potential, but koach spells 28. The 28 letters within the name Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud will become great. Ubchina zu nosen Yaakov leDavid. That's the connection to the 28 years that Yaakov gave Dovid. Now the question is, why? Why was that necessary? He explains. The name of Aleph Dalad Nun Yud, it is the source for the three worlds, Bria, Yetzir, Asiyah, right? The world of Atzilus is not sourced by Aleph Dalad Nun Yud. Aleph Dalad Nun Yud is already rulership. There is a world. The beginning of the world in its initial stages is from the world of Bria, creation, formation, and action. So those three worlds are under the spell of Aleph Dalad Nun Yud, the name of God denoting rulership. And the name of Aleph Dalad Nun Yud, of rulership, invests itself in the three worlds to enliven them. When is it applicable to say ruler when there are servants and slaves? If there aren't any servants and slaves, the whole idea of being a ruler doesn't apply. As it says in the Zohar, the ant is timeido odoinal kula. You have let known, you God, let us know that you are a ruler over all. So in other words, the idea of knowing that God is a ruler is when there is all, when there are subjects, all being subjects who God is a ruler over. Hence we see that without subjects there would be no rulership. Pirush mili Adnai, and the meaning that of the filling of Adnai, Hainu Pines Hahelim Sheboi, this means the concealment within Adnai. Masheni Yochel is Galis Bibya. There's an aspect of Adnai that's concealed from the creatures of creation, for the worlds of creation, formation, and action. And it's impossible for them to feel that level of rulership and dominion. Elanelem v'komus, it's concealed and hidden, huboy, within Adnai, shezeh nikri b'shem milui. That's why it's called a filling. You have to go inside. In other words, what do you see on the outside mark? You see an Aleph. When you see the letter Aleph, the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, you don't see how the word is written, Lam, which is Aleph, Lamed, Pei. You only see one letter, you don't see three letters. Not that the three letters don't exist, the three letters are concealed. That's what the Rebbe is saying here. Al derech Moshe hamili shel oisi shel ateva, shein b'pchinas helen v'hester teiches and oisius. Similar, this would be to the letters of a word which are concealed within the word. When a person hears me say, when I say something to you, or you hear the outside, you don't hear the filling, Aleph. I want you to learn the Aleph base. The normal person, when he hears, I want you to learn the Aleph base, Aleph means one letter, Aleph. He doesn't think, wait a minute, he's telling me to learn not only the one letter, he's telling me to learn three letters. Aleph, Lamed, Pei, Aleph. No. I want you to learn the Aleph base. The average person will tell you, he's telling me to learn the Hebrew alphabet. The first letter is the first letter, Aleph, like number one. Think for a moment the number one. One. When you spell it out, it's zero, it's O-N-E. It's three letters. So that's what he's saying here, that the three letters are concealed within the one. But what's revealed is the one letter. In Hebrew, it's the Aleph. What is heard by the other person? It's the actual letter that is heard, which is the Aleph, the one letter. But the concealed part, the filled part, shalahem komos b'toichon, is hidden within it, b'bchinas helim, in a manner of concealment. Kach Pchinas Adnai Hu Agilui Hanimshech B'Yalech Yosom. The name of Hashem, of rulership, Adnai, is revealed to the worlds of creation, formation, and action to enliven them by Him, by God being a ruler over them, and a rule of all world, over all worlds. That itself enlivens them. In other words, what is primary for rulership? It's that I'm a ruler and that you're a subject and you listen to me. Not the hidden part within rulership. You know who I am and where I come from, where I studied and what I know. All of that isn't relevant to rulership. It's there in a concealed way. Aval pnimi is further in the text. Aval pnimi is vatzmusay, but the inner and the essence, ein yochel is galus, cannot reveal itself in the lower worlds of creation, formation, and action. Elanel and v'komazu, boy, it's concealed within it. That's why when you do come up with the filling, with the it equals 28. Very interesting. What does it say in the pasuk? Chaim Zev, Va'ata yigdal no koach adna. And now, yigdal no, God will become great through the koach, through the power of rulership. Says the Tzemach Tzedek, koach equal is 28, chav ches, 28. That the pnimius that's hidden within rulership makes God the real great one. In other words, there's two aspects to rulership. There's rulership b'poel, in actuality, I'm a ruler over subjects. That doesn't make you yet great. What makes you great is koach adnai, the inner aspect of the name of God, Aleph Daled Nun Yud. If it was only the outer aspect of God's name of rulership, he wouldn't be great. Why? Because he's just a ruler. We're talking about real greatness, real awesomeness that comes from the pnimius. So that's why the verse says, Va'ata yigdal. If you want to have gdula, yigdal means greatness, look at koach adnai. Look at the 28, which is the inside of adnai. What a beautiful explanation. Next line, 3 lines from the bottom. Moshe Rabbeinu L'Shulam, Moshe of blessed memory, when he desired to draw forgiveness and pardoning to the Jewish people, al chet ha'egel, for their sin of the golden calf, right? We just sinned. We're in big trouble, Mark. We really goofed up. Comes along Moses and says, I'm going to help you guys. So what does he do? Omar, he says this verse, Yigdal no koyach adnai. May the name of God, Adnai, the koach, the potential of Adnai, the inner aspect of Adnai, be heightened, be exalted. She is gala pinis hakoach v'ahelem, that there be the revelation of the potential and the concealment. Next page, Daf Kuf Yud. Al Shem Adnai, of the name Adnai, Shayidei Zeh Yeh Noisa Oven, because of that there'll be pardoning of sin. Because this experience of Koach Adnai is from the level of lengthy anger, meaning not getting angry quickly. Shehu Noisa Oven, that level of Erech HaPayim, it pardons sin. It carries sin. It forgives sin. And this is also the explanation to what the rabbis teach us in the Talmud. Whoever responds with Yehei Shmei Rabba, b'chol koiche, with all their might, chayrim loi, Gzar din shel ayin shana, they tear up, they eradicate a bad decree that there might be on this person that's been decreed for of 70 years. There's a concept. There is a gzar din for 70 years on a person, for whatever reason. Says the Talmud, that when you answer, the third part of Kaddish mark, right? There's Yizgadal v'Yizgadash mei Rabo. That's one. Is number two. Number three, that's the third one, and we say, Amen, Yehei Shmei Rabba, may God's name be great. We all say it together and out loud. So the Talmud, there's a teaching in the Talmud, and he quotes it here, that when you answer, Amen Yehei Shmei Rabba, with all your might, doesn't mean you have to scream like a lunatic, but at the same time, it doesn't mean you should say it like, Yehei Shmei Rabba. You put some heart and soul and zest into the Yehei Shmei Rabba as you answer it. It will annul a decree that there might be on you for 70 years. It goes away immediately. Says that Tzemach Tzedek, Pirush, what does it mean with all your might? B'chol koichai. Look at this explanation of Chaim Zev. Pirush b'chol koichai shel omi yesh mei Rabbo. The word koichai sheyesh b'y chof ches oisius. Koichai there's 28 letters. V'chein mi yizgadol ad yomen yesh mei Rabbo. If you count the letters from the first, listen to this, Mark, from the first word of Kaddish, yizgadal, till Yehei Shmei Rabbo, sheyesh b'y chof ches oisius, there are 29 words, 28 words. This is the filling, the inside of Adnai, which is the real strength and innermost of rulership. And that's why it has the ability to destroy and eradicate and annul a decree of 70 years, just like Moshe used it to destroy and to eradicate, to annul the sin of the golden calf, which was the greatest sin, the greatest breach, the greatest separation from God, making an idol by the nation, the Jewish nation, and all that. And Moshe Rabbeinu, by drawing the name Adonai into the Jewish people, they were forgiven. They were pardoned. And this is what we say on Yom Kippur, by the way. Yom Kippur, we mentioned this idea. And that's why Yaakov, the third patriarch, Jacob, gave David, King Dovid, 28 years, Shenosan Yaakov Dovid Pirush. What does it mean he gave him? He drew this emanation, this energy, Shehi Milui Adnai, which is the filling of Adnai, the Iker Koichoi, and the primary force, Lislabish B'midas HaMalchus, he drew it in, it should be invested into David's kingship, Hameire B'Malchus David, that's shown in the kingship of David. So in other words, it was Yaakov, by giving 28 of his years, he sustained and made David's reign sustainable. Otherwise, he would have been long gone because of the issues, all the issues that he faced. What gave him the stamina to endure and to be victorious and to ultimately be David, the king of Israel? It was the 28 years that Yaakov gave him. This is beautiful. Because Yaakov is the middle rod, referring to the three rods on the tabernacle, in the Mishkan, on the Aron, on the ark, in the tabernacle. This is the middle rod, shemavriach min kotzer el yoino de keser, which runs from the extreme upper known as the crown, at Kitsei Atachtoina, to the lowest rung of the Malchus, of which is known in Malchus, which is rulership, Kihu Pchinas Rachamim, because this is the idea of mercy. By day Rachmanis, and by arousing mercy, it arouses way above. It touches the deepest part of God. As we say in Psalms, and we say it every day in our prayers, in the blessings of Shema, Berachamecha harabim, with your abundance of mercy, Rachim aleinu, have mercy on us. Why Rabim? Chaim Zev, it should say, Berachamecha Rachim aleinu. With your mercy, have mercy over us. It doesn't say that. It says, with your abundance of mercy, because that's a reference to the highest level of mercy coming from the very essence of God, which we bequest and get vis-a-vis our prayers to bring us to a place of solace and tranquility. Well, who dafke? He specifically, Yaakov. Shehimshich boy chovches oisius de mili anal. It was he who drew into Dovid the 28 letters of the filling the inside. Stop. Here ends the segment in the Mimer about why Yaakov gave 28 of his years to David. Now comes the next part. Yosef. Yosef nosen leDavid. How many years did the Zohar says? How many years did Yosef give to David of his life? He took away Lamed Zayin Shana, 37. Question is why? So he starts explaining. Hu Yud Sfiris. This is 10 emanations. Ki Gimel Rishonis Nikre Lamed. The 3 heads are called 30. 3 times 10 is 30. You should call Echad Mehem Kol Me'eser. Each one consists of 10. V'Zayin Tachtoinos Nikre Zayin. And the 7 lower ones are called 7. So you have 37. 3 times Chabad, Chochma, Bina, Das. Each one has within it 10 components. So it's 3 times 10 is 30. And then you have the 7 Midos is 7. Hence, 37. Okay, in Hamavur Bezoya, Pashas Vayush Nechayasora, as it's explained in the Zoya. On the verse that Sarah lived, Meir Shani 100 years, Pinas Keser, which is the level of the crown. V'yesrim Shana, and she lived another 20 years, 120. Abba v'ima, the father and the mother, Min Chochma and Bina, Shekol Echad Kol Me'eser, each one had 10. So it's Chochma and Bina times 2 is 20. Hence 120. Me'eser v'sheva shonim, and then it says she lived 127 years. Heim Zayin Tachtoinos, those are the 7 lower ones, the 7 attributes. Kachu in Lamed Zayin the Yosef. So too similarly, this is the accounting of the 37 years that Yosef gave David. Sha'gimel Rishonis Nikre Lamed. The first 3 are 30. The Zayin Tachtoina is same Zayin, and the 7 lower ones are the 7 Kimisporam as they're enumerated from Chesed, Gevurah, Teferes, Yehoid, Yesoid, Netzach, Hoid, Yesoid, Malchus is 7. Okay. It says the Tzemach Tzedek. Thank you very much. You've given me a Kabbalistic explanation. I'd like to understand it al pi Chassidus. Is there any rationale and reasoning here? So he says, yeah, we have to study it. And he starts studying it. The idea is, no. What are these three heads that Joseph gave David? Wait a minute. We said earlier in the Maimer that Adam Rishon Adam is Chochma, and Adam gave 70 years to David. That means he gave his Chochma, his wisdom, his level of wisdom to David, and we explained that. So why do we need to have again more wisdom given by Joseph to David? That's the question. The idea is we explained earlier, says that Tzemach Tzedek, there are two effluences, two ways of Chochmah going to Malchus. Aleph, one, that's what we call supernal wisdom, which has nothing to do with this world. It's otherworldly. Beis, the second type, HaChochmah Shebemidas. This is what we said earlier, the wisdom within the midos. How to govern and guide the emotions to be right, you need intelligence. Because if not, you go off on a cockamamie way, a ridiculous way. Right? Who guides the midos to be proper, the emotions to be proper? The wisdom, the intelligence. That type of chokhmah is not otherworldly, but rather this worldly. This world. Kihinain explains, HaChochmah shebemidos, the chokhmah within midos, this means practically, in regard to David, how the worlds should be conducted. And when and how should be the effluence, whether it be from benevolence, kindness, or judgment, or mercy. And we call this the moach, the intellect of Zeir Anpin, which is the 6 midos. But if you look at Chochmah Vatzilus in its very essence, it transcends emotions. It has nothing to do with how you conduct yourself and how you behave. Forget about it being practically associated with behavior. It isn't even in a domain, in a plateau, which has anything to do with a reason for something else. It's pure wisdom, right? It's like, a study of, let's say, philosophy for the sake of philosophy has nothing to do with practicality. Elohi, Prinas Chochmah Atzmius, this is essential wisdom. Derech Moshel gives an example. There are here on earth different types of wisdoms that have nothing to do with behavior and emotions and character. The study of Talmud and other wisdoms. You could learn Talmud just for pure intellectual sake. And so to other wisdoms. As it says in the Siddur, in the explanation of the Zohar, Klosa, the Inun, Zaminin, Mekoidish of Pashas Emoed, Ein Shom Bir. 3 that are completely removed. Ein Shom Bir, in Koidish Mili Begarmehu. It explains over there in the Siddur, referring to the Alter Rebbe Siddur, there's a Maimon that explains the concept of something being holy in its own domain, having nothing to do with anything lower than it. And he says, so now in Malchus and rulership and kingship, there are also these two aspects of Chochmah. Yosef gave Dovid not the higher level of wisdom, he gave him the lower level of wisdom, how to conduct his kingship. He showed him how to deal with every person's needs. That was it, and that takes wisdom. That's what Yosef gave David. And he showed him not to give too much and not to give too little, not to add and not to subtract. This is what we call in Kabbalah the lower level of Chochmah. But first man, Adam, whose sources from the higher level of wisdom, he delivered effluence of otherworldly, of the essence, has nothing to do with emotions and behavior. And since Yosef was the ruler over the land in Egypt, he was in the level of Yisoid within the 6 midos, which we call supernal tzaddik, which primarily impacts and gives the influence to the attribute of kingship. Yosef, who hamashbir. Yosef was the provider of food. Mark, there was a famine, and who got them food? Joseph. In other words, he practically made it happen. That's why it was Yosef's particularly who gave it over to them. Mikol as the Sfiras Dovid, he gives over all of this from the 10 Sfiros, right? 3 times 10 to David. Shubchinas Malchus, Gimel Rishonos, the Gam Zayin Tachtoinos, Shem Lamed Zayin Shana Hanal, which is the 37 years. So this ends the explanation of the Tzemach Tzedek, why Joseph gave 37 years to Dovid HaMelech. Tomorrow we'll continue. Have a great day. Shalom.